Good evening, everyone. We will open up Monday, October 21st, Town Council meeting. Roll call show that all councilors are present. Agenda review. We have an order 19180 to be pulled from the consent agenda. So I would need a motion to do that.
So moved. Second.
All right. This needs to pass unanimously to take this up as new business. So all those in favor? Passes unanimously. Moving on to approval of minutes of September 9th, 2019. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any changes, questions, comments about the minutes? Hearing none.
Always so well done.
Yes. Hearing none, I'll take a vote on the minutes. All those in favor? Approval of the minutes passes unanimously. Moving on to the police presentation, BOLA remote restraint wrap. We'll turn this over to Chief Ewing.
Good evening, Josh Ewing, Police Chief. So as we discussed in a recent committee meeting, we were able to have a company called BOLA come to Maine, come to the Orono Police Department, and give us a demonstration of their remote restraint device. It's billed as a kind of the application it is for is the mentally ill person who may be posing a threat to himself or others, person who's just not making good decisions, and that they're in order to restrain them, we're likely to have to touch them or hurt them in some way. We need to use some sort of force. And this device was developed in order to at least distract and restrain the individual, to allow officers to be able to move in and hopefully take them into custody without having to use higher levels of force. All across the country, mentally ill people are getting into encounters what are called suicide by cop, where people are displaying a threat to the police, moving towards the police, and end up being shot and killed by the police, when it's truly a mental health issue rather than a criminal issue. And this is kind of to hopefully to fill that gap where when tasers are used, when they're effective, the courts are kind of indicating that they're extremely painful. So if they're used too many times on an individual, there can be all the sorts of negative effects. And again, when they're saying it's a mentally ill subject who's not responding well to commands anyway, now you're using a taser and hurting them further. This is hopefully going to fill that gap. Like I said, maybe it's enough to restrain somebody without actually hurting them. So the thing about this device is it uses a blank cartridge in order to propel the cords, which have hooks on the end of them. So it sounds very much like a gun. So it is going to be a very loud demonstration. We're going to give you a live demonstration here with that dummy. It has an 8-foot tether that comes out of the end of the device. It's made out of Kevlar and literally has treble hooks on the end of it, fishing hooks that wrap around the subject and then just grab wherever it happens to grab. Ideally, it's the knees below in order to tie up somebody's legs, or it is from the elbows down to the wrists to tie up their arms if their arms are at their side. So for the demonstration, I'm going to need everyone to come over here. Behind me, we have some eye protection if you're interested. I certainly encourage it. And we have ear protection as well, and I absolutely encourage ear protection. Yeah, well.
We're expendable.
Dedicated to this town like you would believe. You know?
So if you're serious, if you're concerned, I would stand either behind someone for the most part or throw on these protective glasses. And I really suggest you either put your fingers in your ears or use the, I need some of them. Use these, we're going to call them disposable earplugs. It will likely jump you. It is the sound of a gunshot. So even if you're prepared, it's going to jump you. before we start, does anybody have any questions? No questions? Our training would say that Captain Merrill, what he's going to do is, as he's ready to deploy this, and you'll see a nice green line, which is a laser, and that's where the impact will be. He's going to say, bola, 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 which is to alert usually the other officers. We do the same thing with taser. It's alert the other officers that this thing's about to go off, and for them to prepare for that and not move in at the wrong time or think that it's a gunshot. So, Captain Merrill, you're up. Sure. Captain Merrill has experienced this. And if you're wondering if it will go into your skin, Captain Merrill has experienced this. These are expelled cartridges. Anybody like to see what that feels like? When you hear him say bola, 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 I would suggest you plug your ears. Bola, bola, bola. Retry. That went a little low. This is exactly what he would do if it failed in the street. He would do it again. Bola, bola, bola. There you go. So it is loud.
Is it hard to go up and?
Yep, absolutely. You can go up, just watch out for the hooks. They are like any other hook, they will catch your skin. But you can certainly touch the Kevlar cord. I think he went a little low. I think he actually jerked his hand and went a little low and it wasn't able to catch. Yeah. Hit the hands, yeah. Yeah, we'll do one more where we actually shoots at the legs.
Those are the devices you.
They are the cartridges, so they're disposable. When we're done, they're done.
Does that work on all sides?
It's 8 feet, so I think they said on an average human it's supposed to go around 3 times. The bigger the person, obviously, the fewer times.
No.
From what we understand, these are, because they've now been expelled with a powder charge, they're not trying to reuse them yet. There may be an application in some other place, but they're not sure they want to actually try and reuse that. I think they'll probably move to that. Start to do it at this point. They're just,
But it gives you the.
yeah, we're gonna hang on to them in case
Which is good.
they tell us to come back at some point.
Happening and whatnot.
It's just one more thing where you don't have to use that force. That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Any questions now? All right, we'll do one more deployment at the legs, which, if you think about this as well, when someone is moving and they are hit by a taser, it locks up your body. You do not have the ability to say, oh, I'm falling, I'm going to put my hands out. So there have been injuries of people who have fallen once they've been tased, right? So this is an application where even if someone's moving away from you saying, I'm not going to comply, and you tase, you use the bola wrap, it wraps their legs and at least gives them an opportunity to go down slower.
Or if they're running.
Right, maybe not so much running. We might not try it with that application, but people do that. They'll walk away from us and say, I'm not going with you, I'm not going to listen to you. This would give us a chance to at least restrain them a little bit and they could go to the ground and protect themselves when they fall. We're good? We're good there?
You guys might want to just.
Yeah, if we could have you slide over here. Yeah. Thank you.
Safety first. We've seen that.
All right, and please plug your ears. Bola, bola, bola. Like with any tool,
What's the success rate been on the application or
I've-
tested these in terms of what about if this is a stationary
Right.
inanimate object, what about with the person's running?
It's probably not going to be used on the application of someone running. Walking, yes. Walking towards you, yes. I've actually seen it. I've seen some videos of people with no shirt, and you can tell they've been hit with it, and they start grabbing at it, but it's catching their skin, and then they hit again, and they grab some more.
Okay.
So it can be used simply as enough to distract someone and keep them somewhat restrained. Yes. Yeah. Mike.
Yeah,
Good.
we noticed the difference.
Do
Hey.
counselors have any questions for?
Any further questions? We're going to pick that right up and move it out of the way so we can continue the meeting.
Are we currently using this or?
The Criminal Justice Academy has to approve this device because it uses it's basically a gun because it's firing that blank charge. So they have to, there we go. They have to approve it as a less lethal device, there's a long list of less lethal devices at the Academy. So on November 8th, they are meeting. The expectation is that they will approve this very quickly. And then we have a policy that we will just put into place. And once there's a certain, we have 4 instructors because of Bullock came and instructed our people. We'll be able to train the rest of the department, and we intend to deploy it.
We chatted briefly before the meeting, but also those are 2 projectiles, so this would only be used in a case where it is an isolated individual that clearly.
Absolutely. This is not a crowd control, not a main day device. It's absolutely for an individual with space to use it. So again, the application is specific,
I know, I was gonna say.
but
how
it
many
is certainly a
meters
gap
do
that
you
we would
need?
like to fill
Awesome.
because of
Is
its
it
specific
reusable?
application.
Reduce,
It
recycle?
would be fairly extensive training for all officers.
There is the instructor training I think the instructor training was 4 hours. I think the officer training will be a couple hours. It's similar to the taser.
Sure.
When to use it, how to use it, what's the proper application, how to deploy it.
Because there really have incidents of people being, running at officers and who visits who, and
Across the country.
Is this more like in response to what's been observed throughout the nation?
This is throughout the nation. This is throughout the nation for like I said, the mentally ill person who is posing a threat where we can't get close to them without using a higher level of force because of what they might be having in their hand or what they've done to themselves already. And we want to restrain them and distract them enough so we can get them under control without having to hurt them.
Like people high on plaque.
It could be, or just simply, it could be someone on drugs, it could be someone that's too intoxicated or someone that's just got a mental illness and they're not rational anymore. They may be have a knife in their hand or something that can hurt us.
I'm so sorry I'm sorry, Susan, only because I think this is actually a video people might watch and be interested in. Normally people maybe don't watch our videos, but if we could make sure any questions are happening on mic so that it's on the sound on video.
I can repeat her. Susan's asking if we've had these types of situations here in Orono. There have been incidents here in Orono where someone needed to be restrained, that was a threat to themselves or someone else, and we've had to use a taser, or we've had to use a higher level of maybe a tackle or more officers than you would think would be reasonable in order to get someone under control, which puts them at risk of being hurt. So I have seen in my career opportunities where this would have been helpful. And again, this is not the end all. It is a tool, and if we ultimately end up using a higher level of force, if we've at least tried other things leading up to that, I think it would be a good thing.
Joshua, the cartridges, when they come out, do you reload them? Like what happens to all of the?
I believe the company at this point has said, because this has got a firearm projectile amount of force coming out of it, they're not willing to then try and reuse it and hope that it behaves the same way as it did when it was brand new. So they may move to a model where they're able to reuse these, but at this point they're not.
And what does this cost? What is the cost for cartridges?
The cartridges, I believe, are $30 a piece, and the tool itself is like $9.25.
I just want to be clear that at this point, there is no cost to the town. The company is giving us the ability to use them to pilot this, and our understanding is if we use the cartridge, they will send us replacement cartridges cartridges. So at some point in the future, we might be asked to to give these back, and then we'd have to consider purchasing. But I thought it made more sense to maybe have some use or to see how they would deploy before we spent the money.
Anyone else have any other questions of Josh?
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for the demonstration.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are having problems with our internet right now. I have Mitch making 3 copies of background material. Do we need more than 3? Yours is up? Okay. So I have 3 packets coming when he returns.
All right. Right now, we'll go through the public hearings, if Mr. Mylan is ready. We will go to public hearing A, to consider vitulers licenses for the following businesses: Max Convenience Stores LLC, doing business as Circle K, number 7089, 53 Main Street. Max Convenience Stores LLC, doing business as Circle K, number 7021, 2 Stillwater Avenue. Brewers of the North, doing business as Aroma Joe's, 99 Park Street. And Big Shoe Inc., doing business as Subway, not Subaru, Subway, 10 Stillwater Avenue, I think, not street.
Good evening, folks. I'm Dave Mylan, Director of Community Development. My testimony won't be anywhere near as exciting as the previous one. So I'm just here to say that all of the staff has conducted inspections on all of these vitulous licenses, and the property taxes and sewer fees are current, and staff recommends approval.
Does anyone wish to speak for or against the issuing of these licenses? Hearing none, I'll close public hearing A. Move on to public hearing B, to consider a Class 1 malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license and vitulers license for S&M Corporation, doing business as Thai Orchid, 28 Mill Street.
Again, inspections have been completed, and staff is recommending approval of licenses. All fees and fees and taxes are been paid.
Anyone wish to speak for or against the issuing of this license? Hearing none, I'll close public hearing B. Move on to public hearing C, to consider a Class 1 malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license, special amusement permit for music, dancing, and entertainment, and vitulers license to the University of Maine, doing business as Collins Center for the Arts, 5746 Collins Center.
And the staff has conducted inspections. All of the fees and taxes are current, and recommending approval of the license.
Anyone wish to speak for or against the issuing of this license? None. I'll close public hearing C. Move on to public hearing D, to consider a Class 1 golf club, spirituous, and vinous and malt liquor license, special amusement permit for music, dancing, and entertainment, vitulers license, and auxiliary license for a mobile service bar for Penobscot Valley LLC, doing business as Penobscot Valley Country Club, 366 Main Street.
It is getting very exciting because this is the last one. And so all of the inspections have been completed, and the taxes and fees have been paid, and staff is recommending approval.
Dave, could you explain what a mobile service bar is?
Sure. The exception to everything, other types of licensed premises, is to a golf course is allowed to have a mobile device that they can take a cart out onto the
So the ninth hole.
ninth hole, and so if you just got to have those refreshments while you're working on the last 9.
Okay, that makes good sense.
What
it is.
Country clubs are the only ones that are allowed to have that.
Okay.
They use. Golf courses.
All right. Does anyone wish to speak for or against the issuing of these licenses? Hearing none, I'll close public hearing D. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I will open public hearing E, to consider Maine Municipal Association Model General Assistance Ordinance Appendices A through F and H for the period of October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020, to be in compliance with Title 22 MRSA Section 4305, subsection 4. So,
So every year we are required to hold a public hearing on the proposed appendices for our model general assistance ordinance. Every community in the state of Maine is required to have a local welfare program, which is what general assistance is. As long as we stay within the guidelines provided by the model ordinance and the appendices that you will adopt, the town is reimbursed 70% of the costs, of what we expend for this program. General assistance is a stopgap 30-day emergency assistance program. It is not designed to supplant other programs, but rather bridge people who are in crisis to have an opportunity to file the appropriate applications. General assistance is not designed to be somebody's regular income into their home. So it is purposefully a very low amount of money. So to give you a sense, in Orono, in the last year, we've accepted 28 applications. 14 of them were paid. One of them was the same family helped twice. Of the 28 applications, 6 were repeat, 22 were new to the program. We don't see a lot of repeat applications in general assistance because there are significant requirements for getting assistance again. You have to undertake a job search or provide doctor's notes or do any number of things in order to stay on the program. We expended last year $5,862.68. $2,405 of that were to pay for the burial or cremation of indigent individuals. So that's really what is driving the program these days. I've talked to staff. When we look at the general assistance maximums, the council really doesn't have very much room to substitute its own discretion or opinion. The only place you can do that is in the housing maximums if you're willing to undertake a survey of our local housing, which is not a phone call. It's pretty involved. But so I asked staff who is processing the applications whether or not the existing housing limits are adequate to provide assistance to those in need. Shelley felt like they are absolutely adequate. She also explained to me that general assistance has loosened up a little bit with local discretion. So if we had somebody who, for example, needed assistance with housing, but needed a little bit more than what the maximum housing would allow for, as long as they otherwise would qualify for the program, as long as we call and get permission before we expend the funds, we will still get reimbursed 70% of a reasonable amount, which is what we would get permission for. So at this point, our recommendation is that you not go through the local housing survey process and accept the appendices as provided.
Because this is a public hearing, I'll ask if the public has any questions on this first. Do any counselors have any questions? All right. Okay.
I just say I think the flexibility that we now have to seek approval for a higher limit if necessary makes it a much more reasonable program.
Okay. And that I will close public hearing E and move on to acknowledgments by council members. Sam, we'll start with you today.
I'm not sure what day it was, but dog registration is now open. On the 16th. Very exciting time of year.
Lori?
Just pleased to be here and happy to see so many people in the seats here in the town council chambers. It's a pleasure to have our citizens join us.
I'd like to acknowledge our Public Works Department for the exceptional job they have done this year in the Orono Cemetery. We had some debates about private contractor versus our own people doing it. We decided to go in the direction a year ago of having our own people do it, and it is looking better than it ever has in my memory. So congratulations to our Public Works Department. Is it Mike Smart who was in charge of that particular operation in Public Works? And I really commend him for his work in that area. And also, we have a contractor in restoring old gravestones. He has finished the far back of the cemetery, and will be moving on to other sections in another year, I believe. And the work that he's done so far is very impressive.
Thanks, Tom. Megan?
Well, first of all, I know it's not for some people, they wouldn't consider it an exciting election year in Orono because it's just 2 referendum questions, but please do get out and vote on November 5th. We have a transportation infrastructure bond issue and also one that would allow for alternative initiative signatures for persons with disabilities. So those are 2 important things that you should get out there and vote for. Also, I am no longer a resident of the Webster neighborhood, but I was for a long time, and I've been watching the North Main Street project with interest. I still walk my dog over there, and it is coming along. It looks really nice, and I'm excited that this street and neighborhood is getting some attention. They're doing a great job. And for folks who maybe weren't in on the earlier meetings where we discussed the plan for that part where North Main connects to Route 2, you may be wondering, well, why does it look so different? They're changing the shape of the curb there so that it's not just a highway, off ramp that people just kind of swing off onto North Main, because sometimes that's dangerous. So now it's going to be a little bit narrow. People are going to have to stop and actually take a turn. So we're hoping that it'll be a little bit safer.
As Sophie knows, I was going to acknowledge the cemetery. And if we just started on this end. No, I want to reiterate, I was amazed to see, I just took a walk through there because we've had these 3 beautiful days in a row, and took a walk through there. And you really have to see it. You can tell the Old Town side from the Orono side now. And the gravestones are really nice, and they've put braces up and they've put pieces back together again. It's amazing. It's amazing to go through there, and especially in the back part of it, and historic. But it really does look nice. It really does. So thank you for all those people involved in that project.
I had the opportunity to attend the Maine Municipal Association's conference. It was a really good, informative session. Sophie, I realized just how many people you do know, and I actually took part in with one of the things that was really important, is the birthday of the state of Maine, and so there'll be a few of us that'll be working. We're doing some really neat things here during that. I'm not sure if anybody participated. I actually did in the campus challenge, which was another amazing thing. You probably saw the banner outside here for the month. You go outside and you do things outside and you get points. The University of Maine actually finished number 2 in the country. Point-wise, we finished number 1 in the Northeast. So it was, when you looked at the point spread, they were out a lot. I mean, the points were like, I don't know, like 78,000. You get like 10 points for an activity. So just want to acknowledge that we were very active outside, and it was a fun month. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. That's great. Go on to unfinished business. We don't think we have any. I'll take a motion to move the consent agenda.
Moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Passing the consent agenda? Passes unanimously. And moving on to new business, and we will take order 19-182. Need a motion for a resolve urging the United States Congress to take action regarding climate change.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so is there someone going to present? Ron, you want to present them?
I'm not planning to say very much.
Okay.
I just would very much like to thank the council for taking up this issue. I know that the council doesn't frequently take up such broad-ranging and far-reaching issues, but I think it is highly appropriate. The issue at hand here, climate change driven by greenhouse gases, affects all of us. It affects the town in many ways, many of these ways involving public health as well as public money. And it affects the town indirectly through its various impacts on the state economy. So the council raising its voice and making an effort to see to it that constructive action is taken on a higher level is commendable, and I thank you for it.
Thank you, Ron. Does council have any comments, discussion?
Yes, when we first started discussing this issue, at first it was a little bit confusing for me, thinking my way through, well, what does a municipal council have to do telling Congress what they should be doing? Normally, if I want my representative to do or not do something, it's on me as a citizen to contact them, but maybe not as a counselor. But this is kind of different because even though, you know, it is a fairly broad and high-reaching issue, it really does affect us at the local level. We see this in our taxes every year. We see it in our municipal pocketbook, the effect that climate change is having on so many different levels. So for me, that's why it felt appropriate to for the council to take up this particular issue, because it really does affect municipalities in a lot of ways.
And I want to say too that I've done research into this, and I went to the website, and I've done all of the things that you were supposed to do in order to find a space. I certainly agree that climate change is an issue. I really do. And, you know, respectfully, I also agree that we need a clear and immediate solution. I'm having a difficult time supporting a tax, a fee, a sin tax as a solution to the problem. I understand an incentive program. I understand discounts. I understand some financial help to encourage low-income people to transition into electric cars or solar power or heat pumps. I'm having a really hard time understanding how, and I have from the beginning, how any kind of a fee imposed on people who are already struggling, even given the promise that they're going to get money back, I don't know how they're going to pay for any kind of a fee. I support an immediate and a clear solution to climate change. I'm struggling with supporting this kind of a solution.
Yeah, I'd like to I'd like to acknowledge the amount of time and the effort that went into go over this issue. I want to thank the people that did come forward with this, bring it to our attention, and also I want to thank them for respecting the process we went through as we tried to navigate this, and both as we all have personal feelings about this, but as we're speaking as a municipality, I think it was important to give it due diligence and time. I think we came up to, we looked at a lot of things, and one of my hesitation was having a direct support of one specific law. I don't necessarily think it's our voice to do that, but to encourage them to do something in the likes of similar to that and really move forward on that, to make steps in that direction. In all due regards, I know it's a hardship for everybody, but I think given the options of what's ahead of us, I think this is an important thing for us to do, to have our collective voices heard. So I want to thank you, and I also want to thank council for taking this, as we do with everything, taking it very seriously and giving it time and having some long and thoughtful conversations about this. So thank you.
Anyone else?
I am wholly in support of we as a town encouraging our federal delegation to support whatever laws that they can come up with that would enact a revenue neutral fee on carbon fuels. The fee is for the people who are the companies that are taking those carbon fuels and using and marketing them, and that is really a very small number of companies, but it impacts all of us because it changes the climate, and that's impacting the health of our citizens. But for those who are very concerned about our tax base, it's impacting the infrastructure in our town, and it strains our resources because we have to maintain that infrastructure. So with the exacerbation of storms caused by the change in the global carbon concentration in the atmosphere and other greenhouse gases, we're having impacts here that we've already seen, and our town manager has relayed that to us, that there's already signs of increased costs for managing our infrastructure because of climate change. And so basically, as a town, I support us as a town telling our federal government that we as a town need them to address climate change at the infrastructure level of the economy, which is a carbon fuel based economy. And so putting a tax on the carbon fuels is a way to incentivize changing our economy from carbon based to something else. And so I support this. I think that we, the little town of Orono, can make an impact by telling our delegation how important it is to us, because we have strapped resources and we want them to take action.
Anyone else? I struggle with this as Cheryl does. I am not sure that the fee is a way to go, but I do believe that we need to draw our attention to climate change. This isn't the Orono. I've lived in Orono 15 years, and I remember a lot of snow, and last year was a lot of ice, and I don't like ice. So I am willing to support this, to start a conversation, and hope that we can urge the U.S. Congress to have a conversation and come up with a plan for some immediate action. So with that, if no one else has any comments, I will take a vote on Order 19-182. All those in favor? Passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
the town manager asked me to let you know that something has come up that requires her immediate attention and that she will return as soon as possible, but I'm here to help you in any way I can.
Okay. Thank you, sir. It just startled me when I looked up, that's all. Order 19-182 has passed. So we will move back in order a little bit to Order 19-180. Try not to mess Nancy up too much here.
I'll just jump in and move approval.
Second.
Oh, she's got to read it. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, right.
Okay. Well, the motion that Megan made was for an order authorizing the town manager to file a waiver of foreclosure of a 2018 property tax lien filed at the Penobscot Registry of Deeds against Tracy Smith for taxes outstanding on a building located at 2 Austin Drive, account number 1079, map 19-3, lot 40-2. And so we have a first and a second. Is there any conversation? Cheryl seconded, didn't you?
Yes.
All right. Then I will take a vote on Order 19-180. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Apologize for the confusion. Order 19-183, order approving an ordinance amendment to the Town of Orono Ordinances, Chapter 18, Land Use, Section 18-113, Vernal Pools Overlay District, Section B, Applicability, approving partial delegated permitting authority for vernal pools with conditions. Take a motion, please.
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, so this is just the last step in this process. We had the public hearing last month. This is, again, just an amendment to the vernal pools overlay district section of the ordinance. It was just a couple of conditional changes that state DEP gave us to receive partial delegated authority to act on any vernal pools and implement this program that we already have existing in our ordinance. So it's just clarifying a few different things. As we've been over it a number of times, if there's any questions, I can answer it, but otherwise, that's it.
Any questions or comments on this? Housekeeping thing. All right, I will take a vote on Order 19183. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Order 19184, order approving ordinance amendments to the Town of Orono Ordinances, Chapter 18 Land Use, Section 18-145, Wireless Telecommunication Facilities. Take a motion, please.
Move approval.
Again, this was a kind of minor amendment to an existing ordinance for wireless telecommunications facilities. Part of it was to kind of bring the exemptions to permitting and site plan approvals kind of up to include modern technologies, like wireless internet equipment, the way it was written previously. Personal satellite dishes and things were allowed as far as residential uses go, but not in commercial uses, things like restaurants. So there were just some holes that needed to be included, and it also then allows antennas to be placed as and permitted as accessory uses so long as they go into a commercial or institutional use solely inside the building. So if there's no visual outside visual addition to a building, then it can just be permitted simply as an accessory use rather than going through this very lengthy and more stringent site plan process that currently exists.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Makes sense to update our ordinance. So I'll take a vote on Order 19184. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Order 19185, order approving ordinance amendments to the Town of Orono Ordinances, Chapter 18 Land Use, Section 18-151, Temporary Markets and other related sections.
Again, we had the public hearing for this last month.
Sorry, Kyle, I forgot to get a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Sure thing.
We haven't done this for a while.
So this creates a new section in our land use ordinance and a new term definition for temporary markets, which just recognizes these markets could be a crafts market or a farmer's market or a flea market or something like that. It recognizes these things as a kind of unique use so they can have their own standards and not have to be looked at as a retail store, as that's kind of a more permanent fixture. This is temporary in nature, so really shouldn't have to go through the same review process as it's a different land use, but at the same time can have its own kind of unique potential impacts. So yeah, any questions? Can answer? Finally, after months of.
So now I'll take a vote on Order 19185. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Moving on to Order 19186, authorizing the pool repair project for Focus Special Contractors Inc. in the amount of $10,000 to be drawn from the building. I'll take a motion, please.
Move approval.
Mitch Stone, Director of Parks and Recreation. I think back in the spring, Sophie had brought to probably the committee level the fact that we had identified that we had a leak in the pool somewhere. we spent most of the summer and a lot of after the summer trying to identify where that was. Our facilities department and Dave Pinkham did a great job of finally figuring out that the leak actually is in a pit that is housed in the pool house. It's where the water goes from the pool when it comes out of the pool, and it stays there before it goes into the filters. Basically, after many different things, we've figured out that this is where the issue is, and that in order to get it fixed, it's kind of a specialty thing. It's leaking in around the pipes, and it's all concrete. WPCF has used Copia to do their clarifiers. It's a specialty kind of work in a confined space, and so we went reach out to them to see if that was something they could do. Part of the challenge we have right now is our window to fix this is rapidly closing in the fall, and there isn't a lot of time in the spring. So it was staff's recommendation to see if we could get that fixed now. This is where I was supposed to turn it over to Sophie, but I will kind of go from there as we discussed in the finance committee meeting, looking to draw those funds from the building maintenance fund in order to complete the project.
I would say that at our finance committee last week, we did discuss at great length this item with Mitch and Dave, and we were unanimous in agreeing that this should go forward with the sole source contractor for the $10,000.
Anyone else?
Mitch, I wanted to say for you and Dave, I think we're so lucky to have both of you, the details and putting on scuba gear and all the stuff that you guys went to that saved money for the town. I just think I want to let you know, I acknowledge that we're lucky to have you guys.
Thank you.
And keep. Yes, absolutely. All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a vote on Order 19-186. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thanks, Mitch. We'll move on to Council Committee and Representative reports. Megan?
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure since the internet was down, but okay, I do. So the Orono Historical Society met on October 2nd. There were several items to discuss, including what was at the time the impending collectible sale that they do every fall. I'm happy to report that that sale raised over $500 for the Historical Society, and also they were able to clean out a lot of the items that were left over from last year, which was to their liking. The Orono Historical Society is working on its open house that they usually do in the spring. They're starting the planning process now. And also next month's meeting is going to be a field trip to the Hamden Historical Society. They have like a $500,000 wing they just put up, and we're all very curious what it looks like and how do you get $500,000 for your historical society. We're very curious about that. So we're going to go poke around in there and see what's going on. The next meeting, again, will be November 6th. It's going to be a little bit earlier because of the field trip, though. So if you want to come to the Birch Street School at 11:30-12 to sit in on the meeting before the trip, or join us at the Historical Society, or just give them $10 and be a member, whatever you want to do. So the Comp Plan Implementation Committee met this month on October 7th. We discussed two items. The first was short-term rentals. We're still talking about what to do with those. We were reviewing the ordinance language. The one thing that seemed to be kind of a sticking point that council was batting back and forth was the question of the inspection process, or should there be one, or what should it look like, or how would that work? So we're going to move that to a workshop so that the entire council can talk about it. We also got an update on the Sailor development discussion. There were a series of public meetings with neighborhood residents and other interested folks. So Kyle was kind enough to give us an update on how those meetings went, what the general feel of the room was, the comments that were made. We're moving on to look for an engineering report just to or to talk about getting an engineering report to see the feasibility of any development in that neighborhood before we get, too wild with ideas. The next step would then be sort of putting together options of different kinds of development, although the committee decided to exclude any kind of development, even really looking at any kind of dense development in that neighborhood. So that is still on the committee's radar. Cheryl?
I just want to say, and I don't know if anybody on the council even knows what I've been doing kind of behind the scenes, but I've been going to meetings with the National Resources Council of Maine as a town, as an Orono Town Council representative for LD 1431, which is legislation regarding product stewardship. So the state of Maine is looking into developing a plan for big companies who ship products into Maine, into helping municipalities, some kind of a fee schedule, helping municipalities pay for their disposable waste. So it would be a reward program, but it would be, and it hasn't, it's nowhere in the country right now. They've been doing it in provinces in Canada and it's a little bit in Europe. So these big companies like Amazon and whoever ships plastics that are not recyclable will end up paying the state of Maine a fee as long as they are using packaging that's not recyclable, like styrofoam, popcorn, and things like that, or plastics that don't go into our recycling bin. So it's ongoing, but it's something that the state of Maine is looking into seriously. And I just wanted to say that that's gonna come up, and we have a representative from the National Resources Council of Maine coming to our workshop on October 28th. Actually, to talk a little bit more and to show us some more details about this kind of a program that will benefit municipalities around the state.
Thank you, sir. Tom?
Finance and Operations Committee met on Tuesday, October 15th. We had a very full agenda. We had an investment portfolio review with First National Wealth Management, and I thought they did a really nice job of telling us how our investments were doing, and I was very impressed with them. We had our first conversation with Chief Ewing on the Ebola remote restraint wrap enforcement tool, and we agreed at that point that we'd have a demonstration that we saw tonight. We discussed with Mitch the unbudgeted pool repair project, which we have approved tonight. We had a tax collector's report. We discussed an abatement that we have dealt with tonight. And we had a treasurer's report to discuss our cash position and review September financials. So it was a nice long meeting that ended around 10 o'clock in the morning.
But we took care of it all.
We did.
Lori, do you?
I was appointed to the Maine Natural Resource Conservation Program Proposal Evaluation Committee that I represent the Maine Municipal Association. So the Maine Municipal Association has one seat of the 8 seats on this Proposal Evaluation Committee. They asked for elected officials that would be interested in serving, and since my background is in natural resources and one of my jobs, I spent years delineating wetlands. So this program takes funds that when developers impact wetlands in the state, they have to put money aside because they have negatively impacted the wetlands. And that money becomes available. It's a federal rule also. So state and federal rules mean that there's money put aside, and then people apply to use that money to either purchase land that would be put aside as wetland land, or to take land that is already owned by, say, a nonprofit or a town or park, and then do projects that would improve the wetlands. And so I'm serving on that committee. We reviewed 21 proposals, That was a private meeting, but now there's going to be a public meeting on November 7th. And one of the proposals was Orono Land Trust. And the proposals are broken up into regions. So in this region, there were 4 proposals. There wasn't enough, the money is distributed by region. There wasn't quite enough money in our region for all the proposals that were proposed. So we'll be discussing, we're rating them. But it's a really interesting process, and it's wonderful that there's a way to mitigate this negative impact on wetlands by preserving them in other locations, much like we're doing with the SAMP here in town.
Thank you, Lori. Sam?
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. On September 19th, we had our Community Development Committee meeting. We covered 3 issues on the agenda. We talked a little bit about our parking ordinance revisions in the town of Orono. That has gone back to staff, but we're looking at several areas that are highly trafficked, most that have the greatest impact on safety and that sort of thing, with both on-street parking and a number of other issues. So that's gone back to staff to do a little more digging and developing on that. Second issue was the regulation for mobile food vendors, which we passed tonight. And then the 4th issue that came up was about branding Orono through wayfinding and gateway signage, which was something we started years ago, and we're starting to move forward on that. That is going to come to full workshop because there are some questions and concerns, and I think it's important to have the full committee to hear that and to voice their opinions as well. So that is basically it. We had a brief town manager's report as well.
Wow, we got everybody on committees now. Terry, you and I got to get on something there. So do you have an item of concern, Ms. Cheryl? Megan? Tom? Lori? Sam?
Yeah, I had a quick question. I was just at a point of clarification. When we attend meetings, when we go to meetings, if we represent as a full town council representative, it's something we would know before. I was surprised to hear Cheryl was at the meeting as a town council representative. That was news to me. And I like to think that if that's going to be the case, that we have official representation from council, that we would at least discuss it before. And so we'd know at least what's happening there. So that was just something that I heard tonight, and I was just like a little surprised, and I just wanted to put that as a little point of clarification.
Okay, we will make sure that happens. Public petitions, I don't think we have any. Public comments? Susan?
Hello, Susan Whitmore. I'd simply like to say a happy Halloween and Samhain to those who celebrate the holiday.
Thank you, Susan. And anyone else? None. Hearing none, I will take a motion.
So since nobody else has plugged Trunk or Treat, on Halloween, is it 4 to 7? 4 to 6. There will be trunk or treating downtown, and Mill Street will be closed from 4 to 6 because we have so many people who want to participate that we 3 to 6. Sorry, yeah, we need some time to get cars out. Yeah, 3 to 6. But we have so many people who want to participate that we can't contain them in that parking lot. So it's going to be the parking lot and down Mill Street. It's very exciting, and I hope folks will come and enjoy. It's really neat to watch the kids run around in their costumes on Halloween.
All right. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Have a good evening, everyone. Patriots start in 20 minutes.
Nice job. Uh-huh.